Hello, my name is Deanne Treasure Kellogg. I'm here today to read to you Chapter 12, The Coming Night, from the book Collective Minds from the series The White Wizard of Höfjar. Will they be of one mind, or will they splinter? That is the question. I hope you enjoy. Remember, like, subscribe, share with your friends.
Everyone suddenly appears tired. The hour is much later than their usual dinner. The Hosami family and friends are beginning to gravitate to their assigned rooms with friendly chatter when they all hear strange scratching. Shortly after, there's horrifying screams that cuts through their joy, shaking away their drowsiness. They all stop, frozen in fear and wonder. Widened eyes look about, listening intently, as only elves can listen and discern where and how many. They are here, Farfadir announces what they all have perceived. Winter's eyes grow cold as winter storm, no doubt remembering her experience. The group stands silent for some long-awaited minutes. All at once, as if a secret cue, the builders begin to grow thick vines and bark from the seedlings or growth they already have achieved. Jukanum, the dragon, Farfadir shouts. Jukanum shakes her head, and then with nervous anticipation grasps Shinlin's hand. "Don't let them get near my mom again," she warns with a piercing, icy glare. Yes, lady," Shinlin says. His confident voice has gone cocky. Jukanum then rushes downstairs to meet Pluo and Chicheyu. There she finds them both aware of the danger. Pluo has already begun growing armor. Chicheyu is in a nervous stupor. "Remember the invisibility we talked on?" Jukanum asks the plump baby dragon. He shakes his head wide-eyed. "Well, now may be the time." "What should we do?" Pluo asked Jukanum. "You are going with your uncle to help protect my mom. They want the dragon, so go now." Pluo gazes into her eyes, wondering a moment. Then he darts upstairs with great speed. Chicheyu's eyes take fright, so Jukanum puts her head to his. "We will make it. Just stay invisible as long as you can, and out of the way. I have arranged for a ship before I return to Höfjar. I received word that it is near. I did not intend it to be for you, but if I have to, I will send you to sail away until we can settle this. For now, you must be invisible. Fly away if they discover you." Chicheyu shakes his worried head. "I'm going to see if someone can seal this room." Chicheyu backs up, whimpering, not liking the sound of that. "Don't worry," she says. "Invisible if the Nanajars come through." "Got it." When Jukanum returns upstairs, she hears tools tearing at the tree. She sees everyone going higher. "Can you seal the bottom floor? I need to go help." "Your duty is the dragon," Farfadir states firmly. "Yes, and my duty is Höfjar," she says, returning Farfadir's firmness. Farfadir looks to argue, but holds it, seeing that the builders have already begun sealing the bottom stairs. "I see your father in you more and more each day," he finally says, regarding the events disapprovingly. He surveys the builders and asks kindly, "He won't suffocate, will he?" "No," Pluo replies. "We're leaving him cracks. Don't worry, Far." The noises are becoming louder, and with more fervor each second. Jukanum becomes increasingly agitated, hearing the outside events. The hollering is too strong for her to ignore. "I cannot stay here when my people are in need," she thinks to herself. She advances to the foyer with Groan right behind her. "It's better if I let you out," Groan says, extending his hands, humming. The woven doors sound as the outsiders are eagerly bashing it. Groan assists him by unraveling it. Jocunum places her helmet on her head and firmly grips her staff. She pats her dagger for comfort. The rest of the family is falling in place behind them. Heavy winds sigh, blowing the branches of smaller trees as waves in an ocean. As the deep ocean beneath the waves lay a strange, unpredictable danger. So does North Höfjar this night. Down one dark avenue of trees, Hamet and his wife are gathering terrified children and some injured elves into a large circle. He and a few other capable fighters are surrounding them as protection. He himself is just steps away from panic. Things are appearing hopeless as too many of the Netinjars are emerging and more wounded elves are running to him for help. He can see from the corners of his eyes the soldiers are engaging in ferocious battles scattered about the city. Bodies are littering the once manicured streets. Blood and despair fills the cool night. His large hammer is devastating the foe, but spearmen are still getting around his guard, harming those he is trying to protect. The children's cries grips at his soul. Suddenly, he hears a familiar voice shouting to him. It is hard to hear with all the screams and the hissing, but he is sure she is saying to stay in the circle. He notices the bone armor he made and the white hair go past him as followed by flickering brilliant blue and white lights that crackle and sizzle. The onslaught halts, and the Netinjar become hazy seen through the swirling and twitching lights that extend over them as a giant dome. Hamat begins to pace as the people inside huddle together for comfort, unsure of what is happening. The fighting outside is barely visible or audible, and he wishes he could be out there helping, feeling a bit useless bottled up in here. In an instant following his thought, a Netinjar falls through the electric wall, screeching and wailing in agony from the sparks surrounding its pitiful form. He raises his hammer before the thing can recover and smashes its skull. Another tries to dart through, following the same fate as the first. Seeing this, the elves inside become hopeful. The wounded raise their weapons again, and a murmur of praise to Jocunum is heard amongst them. The ugly sight of Netinjar scatter about the streets pains his lost fingers. Groan tells himself that they are no longer, but his mind does not listen. The pain of them throbs mercilessly. The only other concern haunting his mind is Ravine. He must find her, if it's the last thing that he does. He plots out his path to her tree. The remembrance of those things grabbing her dangling legs replays in his mind. A sickening emptiness grows and gnaws at his innards. His ears tune out any reason as his feet busy themselves onward. "We must stay together," Sumar calls out petrified to her only son, but Groan does not slow. She turns to the others in grave despair. "We must stay together. We must help my sunshine." She pleads to the group, standing entangled and disarmed Netinjars that surround them. "Your boy is as foolish as my girl. I will go with you, sister," Venter says, sure and strong, grabbing her sister's hand. "But the dragon," Pluo questions. He is hidden. Only a dragon can know where he is, Farfigure tells Pluo. Sumar is right. We must stay together. With swords and bows drawn, they race into the fray, following Groan, who zigzags around larger groups and attempts to avoid conflict. They see him dodge a few foes that lunge their spears at him, while his living armor reaches out, smacking them with sharp thorns. He does not slow, but keeps running, leaping over bodies along the way. They do not have it as easy, being a larger group. The Nedenjar attack them with more ferocity. Sumar and Ventor use their vines as whips and entangle as many Nedenjar as they can and leave them squirming on the ground, as they did by their house. Farfigure whacks the oncoming Nedenjar with his staff with great skill and strength. Bartek is using his wolf-headed sword with ample skill, fighting off one that is stronger than its frail body suggests. Petrichor, having only knives in the kitchen, is giving Asidaeum's sword, which Venter had hidden on her person. This makes him feel uncomfortable, beholding such a sentimental weapon belonging to the renowned hero and late lord of the house. Shinlin and Pluo are attempting the whips, but their growth is not as fast as the ladies'. Soon the Nedenjar are holding them down with their hooks ready. The sharp teeth, brown-stained, of the Nedenjars are dripping with saliva. Shinlin fights, jerking with all of his might. After a few minutes, he manages to loosen the grip of his foe and wraps his vine around the startled Nedenjar's neck, tightening it. The creature's face goes grave as its sharp nails claws at the vines first, then at Shinlin's face. Shinlin spins and twists, as does his ever-growing vines and thorns, slashing the struggling creature. Pluo, in his very first fight, is with great lassitude and nervous excitement. He jerks around hopelessly. Feeling that the Nedenjars are more interested in the builders and not so threatened by his clumsy swings, Petrichor is free of the creatures. With two hands he holds the elaborate sword over his head, and with all he can muster he slices the head of the nightcrawler holding Pluo. The creature falls with his head slashed, body limp, and eyes vacant. Though quite winded, Petrichor grins, proud of having saved the poor lord. He, too, has never been in battle, and watches horrified as blood gushes from the creature's skull. Petrichor is suddenly nauseous, wishing it wasn't so gory. He turns away to retch. Pluo is full of adrenaline. He stands up, but only to be attacked again by an oncoming hook of a nightcrawler. Pluo impulsively whips a spiky vine at his attacker's hand. Dropping its hook, the creature then grapples Pluo. Pluo punches the thing in the face with his spiky gauntlet, letting loose of all his pent-up frustration. The Nedenjar becomes impaled in multiple places on Pluo's spiky armor. It howls horribly before biting Pluo's hand, spikes and all. Pluo howls in pain from the creature's sharp teeth, though not much penetrated into his hand. Pluo, though, is now struggling to remove the dying creature from his person. The family is all too busy with their own Nedenjar battles to help. Poor Petrichor is too terrified to let down the sword, and he is not stomaching the display well. He tries lamely to shove the creature off Pluo with a long sword, only managing to drive more holes in the dead creature. Pluo is saturated with blood of the Nedenjar and immobile. "Uncle!" he desperately cries out as more Nedenjar surround him. Petrichor turns to face them, sure his demise is now. "There!" Saparilla points to Petrichor. "That one is hopeless, though his sword is amazing. He must have just picked it up. And look at the other fool!" Leof is on it in an instant, shooting 3 of the Nedenjars surrounding the Husumi family. "I know him," she tells Saparilla. Leof moves as if in automation. She strikes a few more, struggling with Bartek and Shinlin. "What are we waiting for? Let's go help them," Saparilla says, smirking, as if it were a fun sport. Saparilla runs over, while Leof takes more time, shooting nearby Nedenjar at each hurried step. By the time Saparilla gets there are no more Nedenjar around the elves she spied. "Leof, oh, thank Höfjar you came," Winter explains under a bright red face. "You too, Lady Saparilla," she adds, taking note of Saparilla politely. "Thank you comes from all around." Leof's aspect shifts to worry, noticing that Jocunum and Groan are not among them. "Good to see you well, Lady Ventor, Lady Sumar, Lord Shinlin, Lord Bartek. Wise Farfadir," Saparilla politely states to them all. "They ran off," Farfadir tells Leof, understanding her expression and interest. Leof nods, grateful, but still quite troubled. "We need to find Groan," Sumar explains to Leof. "He ran off after Ravine." Leof is still silently searching for Jocunum, while nodding at Sumar in agreement. She walks slowly, wandering on Jocunum, then spots a bright light a few rows of trees over. A smirk replaces her frown. Then she regards Sumar with more attentiveness. "Ravine was nestled in a tree with wolves surrounding her last I saw." "Smart girl," Farfadir says. "Let's hope Groan found her without injury." "I haven't seen any animals," Sumar remarks, concerned. "Now that you mention it," Bartek notes, "you are right." For a moment, a hush falls over the group in the doldrums and affirms the absence of animals. The Nedenjar swept through the perimeter and killed most of them before hitting the village, Leof explained solemnly. "Some of the animals fled to us, enabling us to alert the army commander, and to be here in time to catch a lot of them before getting into too many homes." Astounded faces shine across the group. They peer about the dark shadows like mouths of doom, and even the moon-lit streets seem halted in gray gloom. "Poor things," Winter mutters, staggering with the thought. Shinlin puts his arm around her shoulder for comfort. She regards Leof gratefully. "Thank you for your excellent service." "There were so many emerging from their tunnels. Oh, I sealed them off as best I could," adds Saparilla, proud to be a part. "Where is your bodyguard?" Shinlin asks Saparilla. "Dead," Saparilla professes, lowering her eyes as if mourning all of a sudden. "My regrets, Lady Rilla. Let us go," Sumar says, sympathizing with Saparilla by touching her arm affectionately, but is quite anxious. "Oh, yes," Leof says abruptly. She takes the lead, while the others follow her as a pack, with Saparilla falling to the rear. Saparilla places a hand on Petrichor's shoulder. "Don't worry," she whispers. "I'll protect you." Petrichor feels a tingle of satisfaction from this nearly forgotten worry of his wife. The gloom washes away, and his steps quicken, regarding the young elf, chestnut eyes and wavy hair. Her armor is grown of silvery maple, and she whistles as she avidly keeps guard. The group creeps along in silence. They draw near the southern end of the path. The dreadful smell of blood permeates the air. The stillness of dozens of eyes stare cheerless and uninviting. Most of the clatter and howls of combat have become distant or cease altogether. Mun, Ventur and Sumar grasped along their trek, recognizing a young boy they knew already showing skills of building. Now he lays contorted amongst the rest of his family. For a moment they want to bend and shut his eyes, but they clasp hands, thinking better, and continue with weak, rapid steps. Wolf panting can be now heard as they near the bottom area of a smaller trees glistening with lifeless peering eyes. Denajar bodies litter the area. A wet sheen is capturing the moon's light. New sprouts of leaves, long and short, spread from some of the ears and noses of the dead creatures. Greens of different tones grow as a carpet beginning to conceal the night's events. Soon only the trees and their inhabitants will know of the story. It lends one to ponder the secret histories buried in the ancient land, for only the trees to whisper. "Here, Mom!" groan calls from the crouched position in the shadows of some hedges. "Groan!" Sumar comes out, brushing over to his voice. "Don't ever do that again!" she scolds. "Details later," Ventur announces, looking around, anxious. "Now let's go find my daughter." "My wife," Petrichor mumbles, with his eyes darting around uneasy. "I'll help," Saparilla whispers to Petrichor, overhearing him. "Coast is clear as far as the village," a man's voice yells out from a high birch tree. "You might want to check the eastern streets." "Is that you, Red Clover, Galea?" Farfater yells up. "Yes, wise Farfater," Red Clover answers, watching his wife create swift vines. "We're all safe, thanks to the wolves that Mullen was helping." "Good for you," Farfater asserts. "I assume that Lady Cascara Spring is with you too?" "Yes, here," Cascara answers. "I'll go with you," Ravine calls down, climbing from the tree, "if it's okay with my parents." "We should all go," Cascara calls out. "Best to stay together. That includes you, Famhar." "Yes, ma'am," comes a small, meek voice in the trees. "I agree," encouraged Ventar, getting fidgety, peering out into the streets beyond. "She is sagacious and resilient," Shinlin reasons, caressing Ventar's shoulders. "It will be all right." "You can't be so sure," Ventar retorts, staring hard into the night streets for anything, seeing only imagined evil shadows stalking at every turn and bend. In this, she realizes the bright light bubble has disappeared. A sharp, sickening feeling stabs her. Pressure weighs down on her shoulders. The air in her lungs becomes thick and smothering. She is transfixed, wide-eyed. "Hurry, Mullen!" Cascara calls out, overhearing Ventar. "Yes, Mom!" Mullen comes back, climbing the tree behind Ravine. Remember, like, subscribe, share with your friends. Books are available, Barnes & Noble, Ingram, Amazon, ebook, or paperback, whatever your preference is. Thank you. I appreciate you so very much. I love you, all my subscribers. I love you. And until next time, bye.